hike, hike.
What's up, YouTube? My name is Derek Peterson. I'm with Saturday Out West. I'm joined today by Spencer Davis of Saturday Road. Spencer, we're going to talk about Virginia Tech football today. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited to talk about this Virginia Tech team. New coach Brent Pry is in there. It's a little bit of a new energy with Justin Fuente going out the door, and it should be an interesting season for the Hokies.
Is it fair to say that Braxton Burmeister has a cult following? I like Braxton Burmeister, but not a lot of people do. But it seems like the people that like him are very adamant in their appreciation for Burmeister.
Sure, and I think you could say he did his job somewhat last year, right? I don't know that I would put myself in the Braxton Burmeister cult following.
Okay, but it is a cult following.
Yeah, I mean, is there a minimum size requirement for a cult following? Or
I think the point that I'm getting at is just we're crazy for being part of it. Those of us who are, right?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've been talking about win totals on these videos, and we're going to switch it up. We've been using FanDuel. We're going to start using DraftKings. DraftKings line for Virginia Tech, you think is too high? It's at 6.5. Why is it too high?
Yeah, it's at 6.5. I mean, I don't think it's terribly too high. I think 6 is probably a sweet spot. But I mean, if you look at FPI, they have them at 5. The schedule is pretty tough, actually. They have to go to North Carolina. They play Miami. They play at NC State. They play West Virginia non-conference. Like, it's a pretty tough schedule. And in year one, they've got a couple quarterback transfers coming in, and Grant Wells and Jason Brown. I don't really believe in either of them too much. I mean, Grant Wells is a guy who had a somewhat dynamic season at Marshall last year, but 16 touchdowns to 13 interceptions in Conference USA is not, going to inspire a whole lot of confidence to me, for a guy that's coming into his third season as a starter, presumably. If he can tone down the interceptions and keep his running game going, he's pretty mobile, then like maybe Virginia Tech got something at quarterback there. But yeah, man, I think I think it's at least half a win too high. To me, what I'm going to be looking for Virginia Tech this year, and more specifically with Brent Pry, is competence, right? Like, prove to me and prove to your fan base that, like, this is going to be a more competent program. And I think you see that we've even more so in recent years, we've started to see competency in coaching showing up early, right? Like, South Carolina went 7-6 last year in year one under Shane Beamer after being a dumpster fire a couple years before that. Same thing with Sam Pittman at Arkansas. He won 3 SEC games in his first season after Chad Morris had gone 0-18 the previous 2 years. Like, it doesn't take that much to show competency even early on in a college football, head coaching tenure. And I think that the schedule gives Brent Pry an opportunity to show that. They've got Boston College in week 2. I have that one circled. I think that one may be the difference in whether or not Virginia Tech goes to a bowl this season.
I was just about to ask. S&P Plus has them 61st, I think, in Bill Conley's May update, which would pretty much be like 6-6, right down the middle. 131 FBS teams, not quite right down the middle, but what are the odds that they hit 6?
I think that 6 is very possible. The good thing that Virginia Tech has going for it is a very easy November schedule. When I was charting the schedule, it's like you go through the first 8 games, and it's like, man, this is actually pretty tough. And then you get to November, and it's Georgia Tech, it's Duke, it's Liberty, and then you've got the rivalry game against Virginia. They got to go 3-1 in November if they're going to reach a bowl game, right? I think you got to beat Boston College, and then you beat Old Dominion and Wofford, and you're in pretty good shape, right? Like, that's 6 wins. And then if you can, but then to hit the over on this DraftKings line, which is minus 140, it's plus 120. You have to win a game. You have to either beat West Virginia, you have to beat North Carolina in Chapel Hill, you have to win at Pittsburgh, you have to win against Miami, you have to win in Raleigh. Like, you have to win one of those games to get to 7. And I just think it's tough. I'd feel more comfortable, at 6-6.
I mean, S&P Plus fumbling over my words here. S&P Plus says it's a better defense than offense. We talked about the
Yeah.
quarterback. What I guess what is cause for optimism with the defense?
I mean, they do return their top 4 tacklers from last season, which is good to have that continuity. And then look, Brent Pry is a defensive guy. He was the co-DC at Penn State, and so yeah, like Fuente was more of an offensive guy. So I think that you look at some of the guys that are on this roster who you got returning. You bring in a whole new defensive staff, and you've got a chance to have a reinvigorated unit. I think that's the reason for optimism there.
That's fair. Any closing thoughts you want to share on Virginia Tech before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I'm excited to see this. I really like Virginia Tech as a fan base. I'm hoping that Brent Pry can prove a lot of people wrong. I mean, he was a fairly underwhelming hire in terms of how it was received, I think. But he's a guy with ties to the region, with ties to Virginia Tech, and man, when Virginia Tech is rolling, that's a really, really fun program to follow. So I hope that they have a good season, gets us 6 or 7 wins, and then we can start talking about them as an ACC contender sooner rather than later.
Big game atmospheres in Blacksburg are good for college football. Those are the best.
Absolutely.